This is WEBurlesque.
Hi, this is Miss Brawling Beauty.
Hi, this is Raina Sinclair.
This is I Love Grape.
Hello. This is Lux Lacroix.
This is Abby Fantastic, and you're listening to season 10 of the WEBurlesque podcast.
This is WEBurlesque, the podcast, and I am your host, Viktor Devon. And through the miracle of fiber optics, I get to talk to nightlife individuals in the field of burlesque and drag and cabaret. And today is no exception. I have on the line the fabulous Sneaky Boo. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. We had the great pleasure of working together in Atlanta last summer. It's lovely to see you again. How has the last, good God, 8 months of your life been?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This
Sure.
is an honor. It's literally one of the second times that someone interviews me about my work. So we met in Atlanta at the Kiss My Grits Festival, where I actually I won the crown at the festival. That was my very first prize that I ever got in a festival.
Nice.
And it's been a wild year because that was the beginning of a long ride of festivals and touring, and I won a couple other crowns in other places, a couple of them international. So it's been truly like a very busy year.
Yeah. How long have you been on the Pacific Northwest? You're in Seattle, right?
Yes, in Seattle, 13 years.
13 years.
13 years. I arrived here on my 20th birthday. I'm 33 right now, so 13 years.
All right. How soon after that did you become a showgirl?
Well, I became a drag queen
Okay.
in 2018, and I did drag, which I call drag. To me was lip syncing,
Sure.
padded body, like literal transformation of what it was my body out of stage. I did that, and then in 2020, the pandemic was a moment when I did my my medical transition, how they say it, and after that I rebranded to Sneaky Boo, and I came out as a burlesque performer. Although the performance code is very similar, I was just not taking my clothes off before.
Well, we see that a lot with drag right now, obviously with trans performers who are still drag performers. Sasha Colby is a drag queen, as an example, but also has made the body that works for her. She has done the work, so to speak, to make herself look like she
Yes.
wants to look. That a lot of folks will do, with cushions and padding and illusion, as they say. What do you feel is, besides the fact that you're stripping now and that you're showing off more of your flesh, what do you think mentally the process might be different for the art? Do you think you're more authentic as a burlesque performer per se than as a quote drag queen?
I don't know if I could say that. I think drag and burlesque are just different mediums, and it's like oil painting and acrylic painting. They overlap a lot.
Yeah,
quite a lot. And to me, like the rules in art are made. But I love rules. I'm a classical artist. I'm a classical sculptor from school. Yeah, so definitely I love the rules because I love breaking them. And
you can't break rules unless you know them.
True that. And to me, doing drag was all about mastering lip syncing, mastering the art of silhouettes and big looks and a kind of costuming. First of all, that is not meant to be removed like on burlesque. And
Mhm.
to me, in the drag of art, the technique of art is the technique of drag. To me, is a lot more about keeping the costume on and lip syncing and impersonating sometimes.
Mhm.
Versus to me, what the history of burlesque is more about removing clothes, and sometimes it's more um, lip syncing can appear, but
Mhm.
not often, right?
Right.
Um, that said, I mix a lot of lip syncing into my burlesque now. I do full drag looks into my burlesque, um, and that's how I break the rules.
Well, that's the thing is that I think a lot of times for people who only knew drag from television or only knew drag. So I was born in 83. So I'm a bit older than you. So a lot of my first drag experiences or what I learned about um heightened femininity was through movies that were either in the 1980s or the 1990s. And those were, sometimes very problematic. They didn't have
Mhm.
either the language that we now would because of ignorance, or because it was a joke, or because just language has evolved. So, I mean, we obviously grew up with sort of different terminology, but you also have a different cultural background as well, because you were originally from Argentina, correct?
Yes, yes, born and raised there.
What is
Um,
the feeling do you find culturally of drag in Argentina and in your homeland
mhm.
that either you can explore here in the States, or I don't really know. I just sort of vibing off that.
Ooh, that's kind of a very, very broad
Hmm.
topic, right? Like what brings out to my mind in my experience. I had, I lived here for 13 years. I went back and forth as when I was like socialized as a boy, and I also came back when I was doing drag queen performances full time, which was ironically the moment where I was the most boyish out of drag. I was like very into like personal training, muscle building.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
like I was very embracing this like masculinity outside of drag. And then like, this last year I got to be there as if as a trans woman doing burlesque, and it was the way, you know Latin America, I think, changed a lot since I left. I used to have
Hmm.
this impression that, oh, in Latin America it's more like, if you're gonna be a trans woman, you have to be very hot. You have to be, very like done up for people to accept you and kind of fetishize you in a way. But
Hmm. Yeah.
somehow you're safer, right? I think that people moved a lot from that,
Hmm.
like everywhere. So like when I came back with the fear of like not being accepted as a trans woman. As a drag queen was okay. People were like, haha, it's a joke kind of thing.
Mm. Mm.
Especially when you have this contrast of like, no, I'm a boy. I'm not like edging with gender here. It's like it was a performance. When I came back as a trans woman, I was expecting a lot more like rejection, like what I saw happening to trans women in my childhood. But surprisingly, I had a really great experience. It was just very different in the performance world also.
Were you raised religious?
Yes, Catholic.
Okay.
I
Lot to
guess,
contend with there sometimes.
we had the communion with a celebration where all your family comes in, and there's a cake and there is
Very
gifts,
drag.
and very drag. And I had the most drag of Catholicism ever because my parents didn't go to church. They just sent me to. It was more like a making my grandma happy in a way. I got ice cream every time I did that. So
Mm. Well, your burlesque persona on stage. You are very glam. You are shining. Uh, you love a garter belt. You love a heel. You love a nylon. And there is sort of a retro sort of like pinup style
Yes.
that I
Yes.
see. But there's also very nerdy, geeky, silly, fun, and the transition of that is really exciting because I think that really shows you as an artist, you as an entertainer, what you're capable of. Do you think all of that comes as naturally? Do you think you're more easily funny, more easily sexy? What do you think is the harder one?
I yes, I'm also a stand-up comedian. I have been on stage my whole life. Theater has been my life since I'm 5 years
Oh,
old. Literally, I grew up doing theater. I grew up doing festivals, and I also grew up doing theater with disabled kids for like,
hmm.
especially is a group of mainly Down syndrome kids, and uh, I was one of the people helping coordinate and performing with them. So I don't know. To me, theater is a way that I can connect to people the most. Uh, there was only a short period when I moved to the States that I couldn't do theater and because of language barriers. And drag was my way of finding the way back on stage without having to use my voice, right? And being able to cast in many shows every week and make money with it. And it brought me back life and it's brought me back community. So I think what comes out on stage in burlesque, it's just a condensation of everything that makes me happy, and
Ah,
and, and it works for me, and I think apparently it works for everybody. So.
yeah. Well, you're gorgeous you are gorgeous in general, but you're gorgeous on stage, specifically in the funness of it. Like one of my favorite acts, if I were to be giving like a top 20 Victor's favorite acts, on my list would be your stocking act. The act where it's about 7 minutes long
Yes,
and it's you're on the floor and you pull. And I was able to see that both at BurlyCon one year where you did it as the peer review. And a lot of the peer judges were like, I don't really know how to give this criticism. It just looks like you were there to show off, which is fair. But I think that what you're doing on stage is politicized because of who you are as an identity, because of what society provides. But you're also just doing fun work. So,
yes.
what is it like, sort of being still kind of objectified, still being something not quite exoticized, but um, as a Latina, as a trans woman, and as a woman on stage in their underwear? What is it like? What does it feel like to have all of those come together for an audience that's really excited and really happy to see it?
Oh my goodness, this is the thing that makes me smile every morning because to me, I think my acts are I used to be a lot like on your face about how political I want to be, right?
Hmm.
Or also trying to be sad because of course I have a very traumatized life and I have a lot more than laugh to give to people. But I found that with comedy and with surrealism, right? Like Nerdlesque, I feel like edges on like a surreal experience because you pull people into an space where they forget about my gender, they forget about that I'm Latina because the performance is very stimulating. Visually,
Hmm.
it's a mind riddle that I put up there. And I made it hard for myself, for also people to be very entertained. To me, that makes us all equal.
Hmm.
That's a moment where people realize is that they can laugh with me and they can, be immersed in this funny, whimsical story with me. They realize that whatever prejudice they have about me as a person disappears, right?
Mm.
We are all people, and we are all having fun in this moment. That's why I like it, and that's why I'm so committed to burlesque. I think burlesque, the experience that I have as a trans woman identified as a woman,
Mhm.
is that I have to face all my fears around being around the mixed community, because sometimes it's very queer, sometimes it's not, right? In drag, usually it's at least gay men. It's like, at least the backstage is gonna be mostly queer
Yeah,
people. In burlesque, thankfully, most of the time it is. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes
right.
Sometimes the crowd is not.
Yeah.
So I have to face my biggest challenges and be naked in front of them.
Does that make it
um,
easier? Maybe that makes it easier because then you're just doing it literally. You're exposing yourself literally. So then it sort of equalizes everybody. It just sort of is like, well, then what else can you say? This is it.
yeah. I mean, it's very empowering because the stage is a safe space to do that, right? Um, it doesn't have the same consequences if I get naked anywhere else.
Well, yeah. Well, and also you mentioned the queer aspect, and we're at a scary time politically within our own communities where there's a lot of GLB without the T, without the Q, without the all of that bullshit.
Mm,
And the division and the calls are coming from inside the house, and everybody like I don't know like well you can separate us if you want to, but we'll still see you at the same concentration camps. Like they still want the same thing for all of us. And you see like gay Republicans or you see gay conservatives, and we're like, they still think your sex is gross, guys. Like they still think you're gross and they don't want you to be married. Like it's such a mind fuck. It really is.
yeah.
And I'm hoping the answer is no, not really. But have you had any experience with that to work with on a personal level where you've been like having to
Yeah.
navigate?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I one of my stand-up sets, I say that I use she pronouns because I love seeing the reaction of TERFs. And and it's it's a visceral thing when there is someone that even within the queer community, someone calls hate towards
Yeah,
each other, right? Like of course, the way I can not justify, but I can understand how like, oh yeah, lesbians are angry at women for wanting to be men, gays are angry at men for wanting to be women, but um, the way I experienced it is like getting fired from a job by a lesbian. And it was very much based on transphobia, very much based on she didn't like me using nail polish at the job when I was starting my transition. And um, so yeah, I definitely like experienced that. I also experienced a lot of solidarity, um, which uh, I feel like I used to not expect that part, and now I seek for it. I feel,
hmm
dinosaurs get extincted eventually, and if you stick to the people that evolved, we are better, right? Like we stay
yeah,
on the better side of things. Um, I tend to be like, I don't think I put myself in a bubble, but I do protect like living my movie, like living my fantasy. Because if I try to stop by everybody who questions my identity, damn, I could be still waiting for the bus. Like, uh,
yeah.
the people could question me, and I already took the train. I'm like 10 stops down the street. Sorry, honey. Like I kept moving in my life, and if you didn't catch on, well, you missed the fun. It's very sparkly on this side.
That's the thing is in that I talked about a little bit about this when I was hosting the Silver Tusk Awards, which you were nominated for three as well. Congratulations on
Yes.
your first task.
Thank
You've been
you.
you've been such an effervescent surprise for a lot of folks as you get more visibility, and I'm delighted when I see either that you are traveling and you're getting recognition there, because again, I want to see more of you. Well, I've seen a lot of you. Um, but when we deal with trauma and we deal with the world, it's so frustrating and so exhausting to have to keep couching everything with, and I know the world sucks. I know it's difficult. Like, can't we just have fun? Can't we just enjoy ourselves? And I know that sounds really privileged, and I know that's like, but it's not, because we're still in the reality of having to acknowledge that things suck on a regular basis. Um, in these troubled times. Like it's like we know.
Yeah.
Why do we have to keep saying it? So I want to focus on some joy. I don't want to just think about the this rough stuff. Um, as a comedian and as a stand-up, you are using your voice. Are you doing stand-up in both English and in Spanish, or just exclusively English?
I've been asked to do comedy in Spanish once, but
Okay,
I haven't been able to do it yet. I would love to. Um, I mean, I used to do theater in Spanish a lot back home. Now I
sure.
haven't done my stand up. My like today stand up is very different, right? But stand up is for me is like one of the most empowering things in terms of that like making people see your reality, also to to be able to talk about the hard stuff without having to go home needing aftercare. Like the
Mm,
comedy is the aftercare. We know what we're going through, right? Like especially if we are meeting in a place where the audience itself is gonna be other queer people. I don't need to inform you. Like I'm just like let's process this together, right?
right. It's like a shorthand. We already know all of this. Um, how do you make things funny? How do you, when you're talking about the state of the world, if you're a monologuist, or if you're talking, you're giving a narrative, how do you find the humor in the world?
Ooh, I think it's
Easy questions, right? Easy. Aren't you so glad? Aren't you?
no, I know. I think it's. I don't know if it's an easy answer, but what I think is it is like objectively straight people are very funny. Like
Mm,
they are. They make life so much harder for themselves and for everybody else that I find comedy on all of it because tragedy is made out of the same components, right?
mm,
I feel like sometimes it's about timing, or sometimes it's about you know, I can laugh at how terrible things are for myself, right? I can own that, and that's a way I can be empowered over it, right? If I can make something very terrible that happens to me or people like me and ridicule it in a way is diminishing the weight that it has in my own head, in my own feel, in my own consciousness. So I think that's I'm not sure where the question started, but I think that's
you could
how
say, yeah.
how I find that making funny even terrible things, even the things that sometimes I cry at night, I can like write something funny about it and go laugh about it next day. Um, you know, I can make it funny. It doesn't diminish how painful it is, of course.
How do you compose your act? Do you write it all down and then memorize, or how do you put it together?
I mean, my partner, my partner that I live with, we are both comedians. So we do
Yeah.
go to open mics almost every week. So there is always material that I'm working and reworking. I journal every day. I'm working on writing a book. So I do write a lot. And the moment something funny comes out, I try to itemize it. I have a system on my phone, and also I use high cards actually, where I write my jokes.
Uh-huh.
At this point, I have I've done like up to half an hour of material where my jokes are almost like 2 sentences long or 3 sentences long out of what was a journaling of 2 pages before.
Sure. Well, you're editing and you're able to self-edit. A lot of people can't edit. Editing is really difficult because especially if the material is very personal, even if it's funny, even if I think funny material is even actually more personal than trauma in some cases, because trauma you can hide behind people feeling sorry for you. Making
Mhm.
people laugh with you, I think, is tremendous. And I like to think of myself as a good MC. I like to banter back and forth with people. There's a lot of post social media, TikTok, Facebook Reel mentality of banter with the audience, where you communicate back and forth with an audience because that creates organic, I'm using air quotes,
Mhm.
humor to sort of like, how comfortable are you going back and forth with an audience member, or do you avoid it?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love hosting shows for that very reason as well. I haven't had the chance to host many burlesque shows. I used to host more drag shows.
Mm,
And oh my goodness, the drag also is a mask. The same as burlesque. It gives you like, you're using a mask, so people are like, you can say more outrageous things on a mic because people will
sure.
see you as a character in a way.
Mhm.
And I really, really enjoy crowd work like that. And I do some of that in my stand-up, not as much, but sometimes.
When you're looking at the burlesque side of things, how do you construct your acts? Because you do all kinds of things. Is it a song first? Is it the wardrobe? What comes? How do you chronicle that together?
Um, I'm very eclectic about it. What I will say, I come from a filmmaking background, right? Like, as I said, I went to school for fine arts and sculpture and special effects, so makeup.
Oh,
And so very much I see any performance almost like I structure it like a movie. You know what I
sure.
mean? Actually, in my storytelling class, I kind of deconstruct a way of storytelling that applies to even classical burlesque when the story is abstract, right? It's about garments and the relationship of the performer with the garments, or how they remove them, how they can you know create gimmicks out of it and make little stories. um Usually it is a concept that clicks in my mind that could work with any song, right?
Hmm.
For example, it's a running joke like, oh, it's a cowgirl. Oh no, it is a cowgirl, right? So my
Uh-huh.
act, it is a whole, like cowgirl moment, and then at some point I pull my costume out and the tail comes out, and then the little bell comes out of my neck, and then I don't have guns in my holsters. I have baby bottles with milk. So to me, it's a running joke that has an increscendo. Um, Christmas, I'm the elf on the shelf, and what do I give people for gifts as Christmas gifts? Red flags. So every time I pull something, like my pasties are little red flags. So because they were naughty, so they don't deserve a gift. Uh, I do a lot of this, right? To me, I a performance, even though it can be sad or funny or slow or fast, to me, if I can keep people entertained and watching,
Hmm.
they will keep connected to my message, and also it will be effective. I will get booked, and I will. So I'm very technical about everything. I love analyzing like the twists on a performance, and how do you add like a wow factor here and there to like make people, you know, keep on the edge of their seats.
And you do a lot of stretching, I'm sure, because you're agile.
That's what people say. That's what people say.
You
I still
you
I cannot do a splits, but people
oh you go
splits are
upside down on your
overrated.
forearms, picking your legs up. That's impressive enough, I think.
Hey, this is Victor Devon, and I would really like to thank the Patreon people. So, thank you, Patreon people. You make my dreams come true. Spermageddon, Bo, Alex, Joyce, Sebastian, Oliver, Curly Bright, Shinny, Tiffany, Faye, Oxy, Goosey Gander, Luna, Charlotte, Dottie, Clara, and Jacourtney. Goodness gracious. Thank you so much. I don't know, frankly, what else to do with the Patreon. So, if you tell me things that you would like to see on it, whether it's just me talking, if it's some exclusives, if it's chatter of some variety, I would be absolutely delighted to contend with that. It just needs to be suggested. So you can find me at WEBurlesque@gmail.com, and you can let me know, or you can comment on the Patreon itself. Y'all are great, and I love you. And thanks for spending money on me.
As someone who has changed their body over the years, have you learned about your own flexibility? Have you learned about your athleticism more over the years? You said you did weight training to a certain degree. What's your routine?
It's been, yeah, definitely changed. Also, like a very mechanical change. Having implants will do something to your chest muscles and the things you can do acrobatically as well. So definitely, I learned a lot about my body through years. I grew up being a contortionist kid and a trapeze and silk
Wow.
teenager person. Yeah, I did a lot of that. And some of the agility and abilities that I retain now, I definitely I have. Life took me into the dancing on the pole more lately than on a
Oh, well.
trapeze, which
Surprise.
is also acrobatic.
Yeah.
It's also very acrobatic. Not like it's more like the strip club more than the circus now, which I love. And yeah, it's changing. I'm definitely not building. I feel like there was a moment when I was just trying to embrace either extreme masculinity or extreme femininity on my body, just for this thing of being safe. There was for a long time I couldn't transition because I'm like, I'm already an immigrant. I already have an accent. I will also be a trans woman. How do I get a job anymore, right?
Mm.
But
You got to pick
uh,
one. Pick one.
yeah, well, at some point, like performing
Yeah.
the outside gets too painful to keep doing it.
Hmm.
That's why I transitioned. It was unavoidable, but it was my biggest nightmare. Like the idea of being a trans woman through my childhood and teenagers years, like and up to my late 20s, it was my biggest nightmare. I
Mm.
think because I thought life would be so awful if I transition. But look at this. Like that's why I'm like I try to it's not delusional positivity. I don't gonna be toxic positivity kind of
Hmm.
person. I just think that laughing, even at terrible things, gives me like a better memory of my own life backwards. If I say, I was able to laugh even in these moments that I was damn fuck. Like there were moments where like before the pandemic, I was homeless. So like I already knew what it was being on survival and at the edge and having to shower in a shelter and I having to steal from the market. I already knew that survival before everybody was on the same level with me in a way in my head, right? So, but even in those moments, I was doing drag full time. I lived in a shipping container with no with not a bed, but a bunch of style wigs on the wall. I kept that inner kid alive the whole time. That's why now sometimes I have $20 in my bank account and I'm very open about it to people because I have thousands of dollars invested on costuming. I have a rental space only for my costumes and my work because I know that that's what keeps me going. And that's what brought me to be someone in the States. I was an immigrant in a way that I came in and I had to go clean toilets. And, it it was a very existential crisis to think, wow, like I was just a little special effects student back home, my parents paying for my apartment, and I moved out to be myself, and suddenly I have to start from ground zero, like no papers, cleaning toilets, like that's why now this is my identity. And burlesque this is more than burlesque. It's also my gender identity. It is my community, my way of connecting with people.
Yeah. Well, because these are your friends and this is your family too. Like it's also, and yet it's also a job. So you also have to approach it with professionalism and care. And I say a lot on the podcast that a lot of us come from a lot of different neurodivergence and a lot of different mental
Yeah.
states. And that doesn't always mean that we play well with others. Sometimes that means that we're very solitary and that we still are formers. We still want to get that out on the stage. But then when we're done, we go home. We don't go to the
Mhm.
after party. We don't hang out at the bar. We don't uh, laugh in the dressing room. We just go home. And sometimes it can depend. Um, do you think stand up, drag, and now burlesque brought out more of a social side to you, or were you always the gab fest were you always the kid who talked?
Well, no, I'm actually very introverted. I
Sure.
spend most of I have these moments in the day where I'm very, very extra social. And usually I need a full face of makeup to be able to face the world that way. And
Yeah,
I do
armor.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, and I do it for a few hours out of maybe 12 hours that I've been by myself stone in a costume. I think that's uh, I learned about my own neurodivergence later in life, and
Mm.
now I notice like, wow, whoa, like I do all of these things, like the amount of work that I do to then present to people something that, you know, it I, I feel like it's almost like cosplayers. You do all this work at home and then you go to a convention to show your friends your costumes, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing more introverted than that. There's nothing more nerdy than that. I'm awful. I used to be better at this, but I was also performing my masculinity. And now it's like I got so shy at being in clubs or being in situations where I'm not having to perform some kind of work task, like in a show.
Mhm.
Uh, in part, it's like, well, trauma because I'm hyper alert about my surroundings all the time.
Mm. Sure.
And also because I need something to do. In burlesque, if I'm not performing, I volunteer or I am just like, supporting my friends and I see in all of these backstage activity. I'm not just like an audience member standing there waiting for the show. I'm terrible at that part.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I like the engagement. I am one of those people when in a show, I interact with the audience before the show. I go out during intermission. I like to hang out backstage. I like to talk to people. I get to shows very early so that I can get ready and feel like I'm made up. Because you've seen, I paint the face and then I
yes.
engage the rest of the evening in makeup. So there is certainly a putting on to take off, if that makes sense. It's an interesting thing because I was worried when I first started working in New York more often because I was living in New Jersey and I was starting to get a name for myself in New York. I would go to shows and I would do the makeup so people would know who I was and so that I would feel more comfortable in those spaces. And one person, and it will live in my head because that's how my brain works. Somebody said, like, it's weird that you go to shows in makeup because you're not in the show. Like it's almost like you want to pull focus. And I was like, or like you should just want to be comfortable. I'm like, that is how I'm comfortable. I don't know how to tell you. Like I don't know what to say. It's not really, I mean, I guess part of it's probably an ego thing because I want you to know who I am, but I want to feel like I'm part of it too. I don't know.
Hmm.
And it's not glam. Like if that's the other thing too, the makeup that I wear is not so I quote pass or so that I appear something else. So it's an odd thing, but I think we've gotten past that. I think we're used to people showing up glammed up or geished and ready to go. But
Well, that's wait, where are you based again? I
I
forgot.
live it sounds fine. I live in Riverside, California.
California, okay, because
Yeah.
here in in Seattle, that is not everywhere in the states. Of course, I noticed now that I travel to some states, but that's kind of the freedom that I find in this area that I did. I find it more and more back home. But when I grew up, I didn't have that. That you could go find your own way of doing your makeup and your clothing that can be really out of the box, and people are gonna literally embrace you and just
Mhm.
like let you be yourself that way. It happens a lot more in Seattle and really allowed me to find my own identity too, as like as when I started playing with like, okay, what do I look like as an off-stage woman? Because I only did drag and then I wanted to transition, and I'm like, well, damn, I really was like doing tank tops and joggers as a man the whole time. And
Mhm.
Seattle gave me this possibility of like dressing up and sometimes go as like really truly gender non-conforming in my look, sometimes like being hyper femme, sometimes being like I'm super masked today, and no one questions it. I really appreciate having that in here, and I really love that in the burlesque bubble, especially in the festival scene, you can find that even in the middle of the country, anywhere in conservative states, right?
Yeah. There's little pockets. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we
Yeah.
create that pocket and we move it. The festival circuit truly has been like when we met is when I started doing like the festivals more and more.
Hmm.
And at this point I find it's like the only way I want to travel, because what's the point of me going by myself as a tourist somewhere? Like I only have a good time when I'm in specifically queer spaces, and that's what burlesque festivals I know are gonna be.
Right. Well, it's that's the thing is you're your own scout. You're your own person looking for where to go. So depending on the festival, and obviously we get turned down or it doesn't work out or the scheduling isn't there. But there's a certain mindset for a lot of up and coming burlesquers, newcomers, and also burlesquers who's been in it for a minute who are now ready to travel to sort of throw and as much as you can at every festival that comes up, hoping that someone will say yes. Because so much of our identity as burlesque performers is wrapped up in that applause, is wrapped up in that peer acknowledgement and support.
Yeah.
And as you've traveled, you've been getting a lot of accolades, you've been getting crowns, you've been getting titles. Is there a certain point where you have to put yourself into check and say keep keep your head, don't get overwhelmed because you're not just starting out but you're getting acknowledged a lot all at once.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I true. Oh my goodness, I love attention so much. I love attention so much, and is the most that I expect also in the burlesque community. Like
Mm.
if there was like a promise of like becoming rich, becoming like a drag race superstar that you make a lot of money with it. Well, maybe how can I say this? Like I invested a lot in doing festivals last year.
Mm.
I ended up with like, well, now I'm broke. It's not that I'm doing this with like my own money from my own performance buckets. And to me, what it really gave me and what I'm really grateful for is the recognition gave me the possibility of now teaching classes. It
Mm.
gave me like some paid trips where I can go and feature in a festival. To me, that's reflecting back into like the recognition not recognition, but the kind of like return that I need because I'm
Mm.
a full-time performer with no other funding.
Mm.
So crowns and any kind of prizes, I love them, but they are outside of me. Kind of like I don't think it's like it gets. I don't think that thing inflates my ego. It's like, yeah, okay. Will you give me paid jobs so I can go meet, like, so I can go and find my friends again in the next festival? Basically, that's what
Yeah.
excites me the most. Yes, but I want to put it out there. I wanna have money. So if anybody wants to make me a millionaire, I will take it. It's not that I don't want it.
No, I know. I'm a reluctant capitalist, but we live in a material world and I am a material girl. I sometimes you need sometimes you need that money to make things happen. And you also what I would be if I had millions of dollars is I would be a philanthropist. I would donate, I would give, I would provide. That's why hoarding wealth doesn't make any sense to me. Billionaires don't make any sense to me. And I find that generally speaking, those people have to be bad at a certain point. Like it's just that it's not just ethics on like a they do bad things. There's has to be something wrong with them to not want to provide for other people. I don't get it. It's such a different mindset. That's
Well, I feel
that's
like there
the
is, there is something inherently wrong about wanting to be rich because for someone to be rich, there has to be someone else that is poor.
yeah,
So right, so like I feel like we all want to be rich, or we want to
yeah,
we put that we want that like because we don't have it, we don't know what it is, right? It's like it is that wanting something that you don't have, but the people that actually have it,
yeah,
well, staying out there means that you are bad for where you are
yeah.
at.
You've exploited someone. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, even if it's not intentional.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily true um, outside of the United States, but certainly in the United States, and I think in much of Europe, because there was sort of this concept of like the noble, poor, starving artist, that the starving artist or the poet or the speaker or the actor who couldn't afford things was somehow better than the fat cat, the rich pig, however. But also, when you start worrying about making money, that somehow that makes you a bad person too. And it's such a complicated thing because if we're going to count success with monetary value, and when marginalized people start getting paid for their work, we still have to consider that a win, I think. We still have to say, you're getting something back from a system that was not made to help you out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, people have asked me, and it's a common question that I get because I'm usually a very starving artist. I never had over. I feel like the maximum I had is like maybe $2,000-3,000 in a bank account in the States
Yeah.
in these 13 years. So like I really truly live in my art studio. I do it a very bohemian way. I like had moments when I sold art, so I had more money than it went away. When people ask me, what will you do if you get a bunch of money? Honestly, like truly from my heart, I will do exactly the same I do now. I will wake up, go to my art studio, and think, what cool shit can I build today?
Yeah.
It could probably be just a lot bigger. I will travel with like a nicer seat. My usual response is that I will definitely go to the market and to buy clothes and not look at the tags.
Yeah.
Just
That's
buy
to
what I
me,
eat, what I want to eat, and
that's
dress what
luxury.
I want to put on.
I know. Not looking at a tag. I know. Same. That
But
to
then
me is sort
having
of
the
like,
other part, I have what most millionaires dream for. You know what? I have what most people want to make money to do, which
mm,
is following their passion afterwards. You know what I mean? They want, oh,
yeah.
I will make a lot of money to follow my passion, whatever it is. Well, I've been doing it all these years. I'm sorry for your loss. Now, I would love to have money to do it in a bigger scale. I'm
Yeah.
very capitalistic in this way of thinking where my art, I see it's like, okay, if I don't think art can be computed into a capitalistic system because art is like the true art is the anti-capitalism, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna make a product, I'm gonna treat it like a brand. So Sneaky Boo, my persona in burlesque, and any recognition that comes attached with it, I see it as like that's my company. You know what I mean? That's a because it's not only me. At this point, it's like it's me, the producers that I work with, my partner that helps me traveling, the people that host me. It's all like a big non-profit thing, you know. And then the only
Yeah.
benefit that I get is living the lifestyle. I don't
Hmm.
get profit in money. What I do get is the most expensive thing that most people spend their lives looking for, which is living the lifestyle. I live like a showgirl. I make art every day. That's truly like the only schedules that I have in my day is making art and teaching art and performing.
Which itself is an art. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I am
Yeah.
the art too. You know, how ironic that I'm a classical sculptor that have had, you know, this very like bodybuilder journey, and now I have like a complete transsexualist journey,
Yeah.
um, which is crazy, right? I cannot ask for more from life.
Except the funding. Except the funding. That's
Oh,
what's left.
the
Yeah.
funding, even when I get it, it's gonna be my you know, it's gonna be my nonprofits funding. So it's gonna be
Right.
used for that kind of bigger goal.
Hmm.
If at the end that's what I wanna do with my money, right?
You are still working with your hands. You're still sculpting. Are you painting?
I
What
may
else do you do?
I do some painting. I'm not able to do like clay sculpturing here, of course, because it's my sewing space.
Mm,
I would love to. Well, definitely, I'm seeing more and more costuming and clothing as my art, my medium,
hmm.
besides of the stage art. So I'm trying to make more burlesque or fashion design that is an art expression of mine somehow.
Do you
My
provide that for
sculptor,
others?
I do, yeah. I do commissioning work just in the measure that I need to pay my bills,
Hmm.
and I can help some friends, you know, getting their costumes done. I don't think I am a person that can work on, you know, a huge projects for other people because my own art is what I'm very worried, very like
Mm,
um anxious to get to all the time, very eager to work on my. Even when I was a classical sculptor and I got asked to commission portraits all the time, and I would not do it. I would just make my own art pieces and I could sell them in galleries. But um, to me, I have this curse, like I've been saying, that to me the biggest wealth that someone could have is decision over their own time,
mm.
decision over what you do every day. You know, that's more expensive than waking up in a yacht, waking up in a mansion, because usually the people that wake up in mansions cannot decide what they do every day. Actually, most people who are rich do not decide what they do every second. They have everything scheduled. deciding what you do is the biggest freedom, is literally the thing that everyone regrets when they get old if you don't do it, right? I protect that at all costs. That's why I have quit jobs. I had done anything I need. I have stayed broke and on the street just to have decision over what I do every day. That's being an artist to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a sometimes perceived by a capitalistic world as sort of selfish, but it's so self-protective as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a personal thing, and I think that mm, the people who are in power, the governments, the decision makers are so quick to tell folks that they're lazy for not stepping up and for not doing this when they have the means and they don't do it either because they want the workers. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I do trust that I'm giving back something to the world that is very valuable, especially for like the trans community. Feel like I always, as as a trans person, you always cling on like the few people that you can take as examples, like positive examples in your life.
mhm.
My goal is to be a positive, like something that someone like little me could look at and be like, oh my God, this could be so, I can be like that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Victor Devon, and I like socks. I've always been very open about my appreciation for the fabric that goes on my feet, and I want you to enjoy them too. Please go to footclothes.com, look at the variety of fabulous novelty socks that do not suck, and indulge. You can get 10% off now with the name Victor Devon as a promo code. That's VIKTORDEVONNE. Put it all together, no spaces, and enjoy.
Tonight on Murder, She Wrote.
Hooray!
Hey.
Yeah.
It's kind of Piper Laurie and Brenda Vaccaro at A Love Child.
Thank goodness.
I want to know her.
Nails. Yeah, where's her series? That's what
He's
I want.
fabulous.
The son is Joaquin Phoenix.
I know, isn't that nuts? And he is an ugly little kid. I'm sorry.
We're just like, hey, remember when this guy was in this obscure Broadway show in 1976?
Right? Look at him in those tight pants. Yum.
Well, because there's not
But
a
we
lot
do
really
get-
going on. It's
Yeah.
supposed I mean, unless you're listening to the dialogue, which frankly, audience at home, you can do without us. We're just
Yeah, do
learning
your own
about
work,
some of these
damn it.
backstory. But
Right.
Boswell put her up to it.
Yeah.
And then Trish had to be killed because she realized that Boswell didn't have her interests at heart because Teddy was the inheritor.
Yeah.
Playing her like a fiddle.
Oswell knew it, and Trish just gulped it down like one of those martinis.
And then tossed it onto the lawn.
And then lost her head. Poor Trish.
Trish loses her head. This is Victor Devon.
And this is Petra Fried
And this is Tonight.
on Murder, She Wrote.
Are you looking for a show where the glamour is real and the stories are juicy? Learning about history is fascinating, especially when it's all glitter and glam.
Join May December and me, Iona Fortune, for Let's Burlesque, where every episode dives into the dazzling world of burlesque legends, scandals, and stardom.
You can find us twirling it on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Facebook. And check out even more backstage goodies on our blog at letsburlesquepodcast.wordpress.com.
Because talking about burlesque history keeps the tassels spinning.
You can find Let's Burlesque Podcast wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Papa Pasty.
Well, this is it because the respectability politics of the queer community, of what is expected. I would imagine even in oh, actually, I can imagine we have huge discourse about drag queen story time, and we have about what people wear, and you as an artist and your art being very body specific, where you're showing a lot of your body off. It's not, I don't know how to say that. I'm trying to figure out the best way of saying this. Um, it's personal and it's yours, and you're using it, you're using yourself as a canvas, but it also is viewed by a lot of folks as being too sexualized, too exoticized, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore undeserving of being called art, that it's sleazy or that it's slutty or that it's somehow negative just because we're in our underwear.
Yeah.
And the expectation that you have to be a respectable trans person or a respectable gay man or, a person in a suit as opposed to uh, a stripper or
Mm-hmm.
a sex worker or just someone wearing clothes. It's a lot of the expectations you get to avoid by choosing your own schedule, by picking your own freedom, by sort of skipping all of that.
It's the only way that I can be as productive as I can be.
Mm.
It's the only
But you
way I
still
can
want
produce
attention.
my work.
You still want that feedback.
Oh
So
yeah,
how do
because
you
that
how do
that's
you how do you get through it? How do you decide when to be perceived?
oh, I know that being perceived is part of the goal. So
Mm.
um, I want to be perceived for my art. You know what I mean? I feel like if people are, I would love to know if anybody like, oh my God, they are fighting over if what I do is true burlesque or not, or if they are, because they will be like, wow, they are fighting over my art and not my gender. You know what I mean?
That would be
Like
refreshing.
I distracted them so well that they forgot about the part. And also like usually, yeah, like, oh, I used to live for avoiding the moment of rejection, right? That's why I embraced my masculinity so badly. That's why I am still a perfectionist in every technical aspect of my things. I learned classical sculpture, the hardest things to do always, because I always thought that's my survival. And later, when I embraced being trans, the thing about being trans is like, because it's systematic, the same than being an immigrant. It doesn't matter how good you are at something, they still won't give it to you. So why to even try, right? Why to even try being good at something? Why to even try being liked by them? If they are gonna look at me and they're gonna still say like, "Oh, you're not a woman. Oh, what you do is not art. Oh, well, so then I'm gonna be like, well, why are you jerking off to it then? Just change the channel, honey. There is a whole lot of internet to watch besides me." So, um, because those are the ones that come the hardest, you know what I mean? The people that most hate are the ones that are there glued to the screen. So, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the internet has obviously provided a lot of people the ability to just say whatever they want at a moment's notice. So, I mean, people have perhaps always had these thoughts, or people have always, been rotten. But the ability to so quickly be rotten and without punishment or without thinking, like just so casually rotten, is sociologically fascinating to me. Like it is like I find awful people fascinating. And it doesn't help because it means what that means is I still give attention to
Yeah.
them. I still read the comments, I still watch the news reports. Um, but to me, it's still just a theater. And while it can affect me, because human, uh I've I've been told online that I will both not be a man and I will both not be a woman because they don't know what I am. They see they see the makeup and they assume something. And so they suggest that I'm uh they imagine that I'm trans, or they imagine that I'm actually they both imagine all kinds of gender specifics on me, as well as having any interest in kids whatsoever, other than them surviving and being happy. That's all I want. I want them to be happy and successful over there. Like I'm not an entertainer for kids. I'm not particularly, but it's actually less the kids and more their parents that I don't ever want to deal with. That's what would stop me from ever having kids. Besides having to like deal with them on a daily basis, I don't want to deal with other parents. I just can't. No, absolutely not. But it's such a fascinating thing to me watching them go through these gymnastics, and it's easy to get wrapped up, and it is easy to sort of play along into their hand, because that's all they want, is they want to fuck with you, and they want to hurt you by getting your attention. And it's just sort of, I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm working on not engaging, but
Yeah, I think I've been known by my friends for always being out of the loop. Because once I'm I'm the ADHD as and it's not like I'm literally like sometimes looking at the ceiling too much, trying to follow my own schedule in the day. So more than what it looks like. But I also think that most of the interactions we have within any circles of people nowadays are through edited and curated websites and it's not full communication, you know what I mean? There is so much of like tone, intention. There is so many things that are lacking for that communication to be true. So I cannot rely that what I read on someone's written feed or whatever they did is what they are actually feeling, or if I'm interpreting the way that I'm hearing it. Even sometimes when I look at videos of, it's so heartbreaking, when you see someone explaining something really hard online, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching a video of this. When was this recorded? Maybe it was months ago. That it might, because I'm so like out of the loop. There's like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was trying to understand something that happened. So it's not real life. The same way that for example, if I weigh the way I portray my life online, it's not real life. I don't want people to believe that. It's my brand, right? It's Nikki Boo. It's a brand that I'm building carefully, that I'm editing every photo. I'm editing the videos and what I show about my, if I decide to show how cool this festival was, maybe I'm not going to show you when I was crying. I'm not going to show you the moments because it's not part of my branding. It's not like literally what I'm not interested on that to be online. I'm interested in that to be resolved in human ways. With full communication in a way that at least I can process better. I can process better when someone talks to me and I see what inflection, how they are telling me something. Because I tend to be, if I write down the way I speak, I sound very rude all the time because I'm Latina, because I learned speak English. I spoke English like level 1 when I came in the country. So most of my English is from the street or from like friends and like so I don't use the right words. If I write it down, sometimes it comes out as something that I don't mean.
Oh, I see. I would say you're speaking it perfectly fine.
I know, and I mean you're talking now that I'm like 13 years in the country, that I'm like a lot more fluent and confident about what I'm saying, the words that I use and everything. But again, it's something that I think I had a conversation with someone in the last festival I've been, that I had to choose to like disconnect from that part of social media for me, because it doesn't help me process And I don't think I'm helping anybody else by reading this that doesn't help me, and then I'm stuck on this side of the screen being like, what am I supposed to do? So I try to learn things speaking in person more.
I mean, it's sort of counterintuitive to what this is, this podcast, because so much of it is the deconstructing, and so much of it is identifying who we are as people outside of the stage. So it is fascinating to have that ability to just put out there very specifically, very purposefully, this particular side, because I think so much of social media has conditioned us to just put it all out there, to basically, as Gigi Holiday would say, or sorry, Simi Liberty would say, journal it. Like, you don't need to necessarily say everything on the feed. You can have internal thoughts too. You don't have to say everything. But I think so much of us is, and maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe it's also just
maybe it's also
yeah.
what people wants to consume, I see, the way I see this, I'm trying to create a crafting content. I'm trying to create content about the performances and promote the shows that people can watch, because theater happens in real life, not online. I'm not trying to build an opinion page. I'm not trying to build a place where I have to share my personal life with like random people. That's why I have a different account for that, where like a lot of performers are part of too. In there I can share more personal things. Now, to me, like, yeah, if I consider, I don't know. I think that's what my mental health can handle, is putting that part of myself available for anybody to go digging it.
Right.
I've been in the situation before to like have to ask, make GoFundMes and campaigns to fundraise for some very personal goal, and have to disclose very personal things online just for having to seek for help, and how vulnerable that is. So I don't feel like sharing how something is affecting me psychologically online will do any help for me, because I'm leaving it out there for the wolves to eat it.
You're already doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge already that I'm putting photos of me butt naked for anybody to watch for free.
I mean, yes, but you also look the way you do, and I know that
yes,
may not.
Yes, it's
Which
true, but
is hot.
it is very true. It is very true, and it's it's very flattering that that kind of like approval.
Yeah.
It also happens that I'm giving stalkers or haters or anybody dates, places, and ticket prices to find me and see my ass in person. And I had people that I had stalkers, and I had situations where I felt like, oh shit, I wish I love this photo of me, but now I'm worried about what I'm doing by calling people to this place on this flyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it does seem, because it's your body, you can do whatever you want with it, and showing it, well, within community standards of which change all the time depending on the bodies. But there is an interesting line between, that's consent, isn't it? It's when this is how I want to show up right now. That doesn't mean you get to have that later, or bring me into your fantasy. Like, if you find this great, then terrific. But you don't have to engage with me to let me know that's how you're engaging with my body.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I don't need a part of that.
I don't need the nudes on my DMs. That's what I mean.
You're not soliciting per se.
Right.
Right. But buy a ticket. Make sure you buy a ticket. Um, is there a process then, since Sneaky Boo is a kind of an elevated persona, is there a process that you get into before performing that you mentally prepare for?
Um, yeah, usually every performance day is a self-care day. It's when I'm like, I'm not skipping the stretching in the morning. I'm not skipping the long showers and listening to some music. And yeah, I think it's because I work so hard on the crafting aspect of Sneaky Boo
Mhm.
that is such a treat every day when I go to perform and I'm like, oh, I get to be the star today. You know what I mean? I get to dress up on her and do the get all of the applause. Because most of the time, otherwise, I'm usually a seamstress and I'm behind the computer or behind a crafting table with back pain most of the time. Very different than the stage days.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thank you for spending time with me and me getting just to know just a little bit more about the diva behind all of the glitz. Um,
Yes.
in terms of the identity of Sneaky Boo, I believe we had this conversation either in Atlanta or sometime I was in Seattle. But the name, why Sneaky Boo? What is it? Where does it come from?
Sneaky Boo. There was the very, very origin. To me, it took a couple of different meanings, but the very origin of it was that when my little breast buds were growing, I had a partner telling me, wow, those are sneaky boobs. And and then Sneaky Boo, that's how that's where the name was born. And then I love the idea of being a Sneaky Boo. That I learned later that this having a sneaky link is a thing, in English. And I think for being like I can say in this podcast, I'm pretty like sex worker and like kind of a polyamorous person, like being a Sneaky Boo is being a lot. I had a lot of situations when I have been a Sneaky Boo, right, to someone, so knowingly or unknowingly, and
Mm,
and yes, that's how we became Sneaky Boo. Also,
mm,
feel like sneaky is became a bit of my gimmick, being like the idea of being sneaky with something or
mhm.
being like audacious or surprising in a way. So,
You have I don't know if you identify in this way, but you have like cat-like qualities in the way that your body stretches and the sort of the articulation of your shoulders and the back and all the arch, a lot of that. So that's
yes,
sort of like a skulk, prowl kind of thing. I can see that. I can see
yeah.
that.
Also, a funny thing, and that's part of my language, but I always thought sneaky was what sneaking was what snakes do. And
Oh, okay.
I thought
Slithery.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
thought Sneaky Boo, it has the energy of a snake or the energy,
Sure.
yeah, something very uh, feline for
Predatory.
sure. Yeah, she's like
But in a good way,
predating for
obviously.
dollar bills anywhere they are. I'm gonna find their dollar bills.
So how can people keep in touch with your art and keep in touch with your work?
Definitely, I am all across social media now, but primarily Instagram and YouTube. I opened a YouTube channel that I'm, that is like, I feel like people should go watch it because it's probably more than they are expecting from a YouTube channel. I
All
really
right.
put I figure like I spend so much energy on producing short form content for Instagram. I want to just make something that is a bit more long lasting, some videos that are more educational and about crafting and about the nerdy part of Sneaky Boo that I cherish more than the overly sexualized part of Sneaky Boo for sure.
Mm. You have to show different sides of you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a lot of
uh,
brainstorming and a lot of like little nerdy things in there.
And that's at Sneaky Boo on YouTube.
On
Is it
YouTube, it's gonna be the Sneaky Showgirl is the name of the
Sneaky
channel.
Showgirl? Just taking a look at it right now. Yes, yes. And you edit all these together? And you
I edited, yes. I've been producing for a couple of months. So I have a bunch of videos on queue for editing, and I'm doing blogs of every festival I go to, and trying to it's a way of me to stay connected with the community and
sure.
And the
I
students
wish
from
I
the
had
classes.
I wish I had the patience. I don't have the discipline. I want it. I would be a great content creator if I could just fucking sit down and do it. Like it, I have to, yeah. So I'm impressed. I am impressed.
Oh, it's how much I love attention, you know.
I know. Well, I will include in the footnotes of this episode
Thank
those
you.
links so that people can keep in touch. I know you said that you were taking a break from traveling too far nowadays.
I mean,
Necessarily.
I wanna travel. I just need to figure out the funding for all of it.
Yes,
So,
yes. You were recently in Barcelona, yes?
oh yes, I won a crown in Barcelona. I won a crown in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and also I got a prize in Chile.
What was it like winning a crown in Buenos Aires?
To
As
be
coming
honest,
home.
it was coming home. It was doing my tango stocking reveal act.
Yeah.
So if there was a place where I could, it was the biggest blessing to have the validation from Buenos Aires itself, the city
Yeah.
where the music is from, the style of, the whole act is inspired in that city. Plus, it was the first time I saw my family in 6 years. The first time my family saw me post surgeries and doing burlesque, and they saw me not only doing burlesque but also winning a crown. And my dad got the hostess boobs on his face starting the show. What more can I ask for? It was incredible.
I love it. I love it. There's so many stories about fear, about being who you are in front of your family, or knowing like that. I adore the fact that they were able to see this huge moment for you on that turf. That's such a beautiful movie moment. Like that's
Yes.
when the adaptation of your book happens.
Truly,
We'll make sure that that gets proper attention.
Truly, I am so proud of them. We had our differences early on, and now they are my biggest supporters. They were so happy to be there, and I almost feel guilty for having it so good. I always expect I should have something sad to say about my family. No, they are great.
No.
They are truly great.
No, again, we spend so much time talking about the horror show that is life. I'm so happy to end on that note.
Yeah.
Be well, continue to thrive. I adore your essence. I adore watching you on stage and spending time with you backstage. You're a real sweetheart.
Thank you.
I encourage folks to buy a ticket and go see you whenever you're around. I do love Seattle. I hopefully will be back sometime soon.
Yes.
And somewhere along the lines, I hope we again share a stage and compare notes again. So
thank you so much for having me. It was incredible.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Everyone, Sneaky Boo. Applause, applause, applause.
Bye.
Go make art. Go make art. Whenever you want. It's your schedule.
Oh, I want to go home and eat my partner's food.
That's better. I like that idea better. All right. Bye, sweetheart. Mwah. Good night. WEBurlesque the podcast, created, developed, and edited by Viktor Devon. Podcast artwork by Logan Laveau. WEBurlesque the podcast cover art photography by Atticus Stevenson. Theme song, On a 45 by This Way to the Egress, used with permission. All incidental music via Pixabay under the expectation of fair use.
Please visit WeBurlesquePodcast.com for notes on this and every other episode. Follow WeBurlesque and Viktor Devon on just about every platform, and support the podcast via patreon.com/WeBurlesque. Don't got the cash? Please follow, subscribe, and give 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Viktor Devon and White Elephant Burlesque Corporation. All other materials property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. This episode, and all episodes thereafter, are in memory of Lucky Charming. Miss you, friend. And that's it.
Woohoo!